Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Grayboardgamer here with round 2 of our Robinson Crusoe scenario, Cannibal Island. Before we get started with round 2, there are some corrections that need to be made. One of the viewers pointed out that when I did an exploration action, rolled the green dice, the question mark symbol came up, which means I should have drawn one of these cards, and I did not. So this is the easiest correction of them. Let's get it out of the way, and we'll draw the card to make up for the fact that we miss it. There's something in the air. The island is full of danger. Something bad is going to happen. Put the question mark symbol on the exploration action field, and then I'll shuffle this card into the deck. And here's the token. It's a big cardboard token. And that goes on the deck. And that means no matter what, next time I do an exploration action, I have to draw one of these cards. Whether I use one pawn and roll the dice and don't roll a question mark, I still have to draw one. If I use 2 pawns, or 3 in some cases, and I don't have to roll the dice, I automatically succeed, I still have to draw a card. Next time I do an exploration action, regardless of whether I roll the dice or not, we have to draw a card. But we need to shuffle this into the deck. Make sure I get mixed up pretty good. There we go. And that changed whatever was going to be, because I think we had the building card on top, so we don't know what we're going to be dealing with now when we do our exploration phase, or the event phase up here. The next error that I made that was pointed out by a different viewer had to do with when I was gathering resources. When I gathered resources the last turn, I had these 2 pawns here above the fish to gather resources. Well, that's incorrect a couple of ways. First, you cannot gather resources on the tile that your camp is located on, so therefore I couldn't have put any pawns on there. So for the sake of an example, if I want to gather resources from this adjacent tile, I can use 1 or 2 pawns, or like this when I was trying to get 2 pieces of food, let's say. This is also incorrect. You can only harvest from each available resource once per round, which means I can either put 1 pawn on there, or I could do the 2 pawns to ensure that I'm successful, but I cannot do 2 actions and harvest from the same resource in the same turn. Again, the correction, I drew the card. I should not have been able to gather resources from the tile my camp was on, and also remember you can only harvest once per resource per turn. Now, if I would not have gathered that food, I would have only had 1 available. And if I remember right, the weather consumed the 1 food I had, so I should have had no food available. And because I should have had no food available, not only were our carpenter and soldier unable to eat, our explorer and cook also should have been unable to eat. So I will go ahead and make that correction and give them 2 wounds apiece. Luckily, it did not cross an arrow, so we don't have to change the morale in this case. Because of these errors I made, I also gained some cards here, and some cards are in the deck that shouldn't be there, that got shuffled in. I'm going to leave them alone. I don't want to backtrack and undo all of that also. I think taking the food away, causing the wounds, I may get a slight advantage because I have some items that I probably wouldn't have, but I also have a couple of cards that are going to cause me problems in the deck that I wouldn't normally have. With those corrections out of the way, we can now begin turn number 2. We skipped the event phase in the first round, but now we're going to have to deal with whatever we have here. And looks like it's going to be weather related again. Cold rain. Everything is wet and cold. You miss the sun. And now we have this green question mark symbol. And once again, we have to put the cloud on the weather space. And then this card will go down to the threat area. I forgot the name of it there and had to look it back up. So this card will go down to the threat area. And we should have to put that question mark symbol on to the exploration deck, but it's already there. Now I can't remember if that qualifies as an unfulfilled requirement and we have to take a wound for that or not. Let me look it up. The rule book states if there's one already there, then of course you don't place one there because there's only one of each of those question marks, cardboard question marks in the game. So we're okay. It's not an unfulfilled demand or an unfulfilled loss or anything that's going to cause us to take a wound. Then we'll move on to our morale phase, which the morale has not moved. It's still at 0. So the soldier, who is our first player this turn, will not gain or lose any determination tokens. Now we'll go into the production phase. We're still on the beach, which means we'll gain 1 wood and 1 food. And again, during the production phase, we get those items right away. We already had a wood sitting there, which means we now have 2 wood and 1 perishable food. And don't forget, we still have the healing ointment, that additional token for building, and all those items that we need to make the pot for, so we can use all of the benefits from those tokens also. Now we go into the first part of the action phase, and we're going to assign all of our tokens out, and we cannot afford to take the time to be conservative. We have to gain some items, create some of these inventions that's going to allow us to have more options for food, because once again, I don't think we're going to have enough food this turn. And I almost forgot, because of our event card, we have the rain cloud that is going back into the weather space that we're going to have to deal with. So we know we're going to lose 1 food and 1 wood from that, unless we uncover something that has a natural shelter that we can move to and does not have a village on it already at the same time, or we somehow magically build a roof. But we need 4 wood and 3 furs to do that. And gathering the resources to do that will not help, because the build occurs before gathering resources. And we don't have enough right now to build a shelter. The first thing I want to make sure that happens is I want to attack this village so that tile becomes available for me to gather resources on and or move to if I want to. So I'm going to have the soldier first use the pipe and tobacco, which is its second use, and we get 2 determination tokens for him. The pipe and tobacco is discarded because both of the uses are gone. We're going to take these 2 determination tokens, assign them to the soldier here, which means he has some abilities he can use now. So let's go over them. The abilities that our soldier has are tracking. A tiger passed through here a few hours ago. A big tiger. I can discard 2 tokens to look at the top card from the hunting deck and put it back on top or at the bottom of the deck. The hunt. Hello, beastie. Discard 2 tokens, 2 determination tokens, to either increase the palisades or the weapon level by 1, and that's the one that I'm going to use. Frenzy. Now I'm angry, and they don't like me when I'm angry. Discard 3 determination tokens to temporarily add 3 levels to the action he takes. And again, that's temporary. That wouldn't change on our weapon level track. Defense plan. Alright, cook. Listen carefully. You take the left flank. Discard 4 tokens to put the top beast card from the beast deck on top of the hunting deck without looking at the card. And like I said, I'm going to use both of these determination tokens right away to activate the hunt, which I'll put one of these black cubes on there to know that I've used it once already. And I'm going to choose to increase my weapon level by 1. My weapon level will now go up 1, and because it was through that action, I don't have to spend the wood. Next, I'm going to spend both of the uses off of the empty bottle to improve my weapon level another 2 levels. This will take the weapon level up to 3 now. And that will use up the empty bottle. Next, I'm going to use 1 use from the flask of rum to heal 1 wound on the soldier. And that'll move the wound marker back 1. The reason I did that before I put any of my tokens out is I wanted to increase the weapon level as much as I could because I'm going to attack this first cannibal village. And the cannibal village, if you look on the card here, the strength of the cannibal village is 4 plus the number of revealed totem icons found on all the island tiles. Well, right now the only totem showing is that 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. So my weapon strength of 3 if I attack it means I'm going to take 2 wounds. And if I attack with the soldier, that means those 2 wounds will not push him past an arrow to decrease the morale track. All of the other characters are right up against an arrow, and I would have had to used 2 uses on the flask of rum to make them far enough away. So I will use the soldier 1 token and the dog, which I'm allowed to use for a hunt action, and a hunt action is what you do when you're burning a village. And I'll put the tokens here on the number 1 to show that I'm going to do the hunt action and burn that village. I'm going to take this resource and convert, as soon as it focuses, I'm going to convert this into another worker, which is one of these brown discs. And because of so many benefits from the pot, I'm going to have the carpenter use that brown token to create the pot and make sure that we're successful. There are a couple more items that I think are going to be very important, and that is the rope and the pit. The pit will give me a chance at getting 2 more food during each production phase, and the rope will allow the carpenter to make her snare, which means we will get 1 additional food from our production phase on our campsite. I will also have the cook, before we worry about the inventions, I'm going to have her organize the camp. And that way when she does that, I'll have her use the Bible so she can get 3 determination tokens and heal a wound. Or if things look bad before we get there, maybe I'll have her increase the morale and use the Bible. But I want to get 3 tokens because of her stone soup skill. And we have not looked at the cook's abilities yet. She's the last one we haven't looked at, so let's look at hers right now. The cook's abilities, we got Grandma's recipe. My grandma used to prepare unique soups. You're gonna feel much better, trust me. Discard 2 tokens to heal 2 wounds by eating 1 food. Scrounger. When I say I'll find something, I'll find it. You simply have to look at the right place. Discard 2 tokens to reroll any gray die. Stone soup. Lack of ingredients doesn't mean you can't cook. A good cook can make a soup out of nothing, and I'm a damn good cook, mates. Discard 3 tokens, and this is why I'd want her to have 3 tokens to get 1 food. Or, we also have hooch. I know it's cold, but don't worry. I've prepared something for such bad weather. Discard 3 tokens to negate a cloud, or change 1 snow cloud into a rain cloud. Now I could use those 3 tokens to get rid of the cloud completely, which would negate the need to discard a wood and a food because of it. I think the option of hooch is the better idea, because if I get rid of that cloud, then I don't have to use any of my food, and then maybe only 2 people will go hungry. But if I were to do stone soup, gain 1 food, still deal with the cloud, I'd lose 1 and only be stuck with 1 food again, and 3 people would go hungry. So that one will go well. But if we get this pot made, we can improve our weapon, heal 2 wounds, and improve the morale. So that'll help a lot also. Now I'm going to have the explorer go out. Well, we do have this threat event. If I use a person and we do have the shovel, discard this card to get a token. If this makes its way off, then I'm going to have to put the cloud back on the weather space, but that's not imperative right now because it's not here on the edge getting ready to leave. So that would be several turns away. We definitely want her to take care of that cloud. Now, is there any other way for us to gain more food? Well, yes, there is. I can hunt because there are beasts available on the deck now. I can hunt. And I do have to put 2 there. I cannot just put 1 there. But if the beast is too strong, it may knock our weapon level down. It may cause wounds. Which route do I want to take here? I can put the explorer there. She may get wounded and move down some, which is going to cause... Actually, I'm going to have the explorer because if she gets hurt, she does have 5 more before the next arrow. I'm going to have her come over here to the pit and the rope. Take some chances. We'll put 1 of the wood that we may need for creating the pit there. And because I think the pit is very important because of the food that it creates, I'm going to have the carpenter join to ensure that it gets taken care of. And then I'm going to hunt. And we'll have the soldier take the lead. That way if there are any wounds, the soldier will take them instead because he'll have 4 before his next arrow and she will have 3. Now this all does mean that we are going to be without a shelter because I did not have enough to explore any further. I do not have enough to build a shelter. So our food is going to depend on it's going to depend on whether or not this hunt is successful. But we will also, well, we're going to use that to get rid of that cloud. Wow, lots of tough decisions, but I think I'm going to go with what I have out here now. That way the pit and the pot get made, and we can use all those tokens to mitigate some of the problems we're going to have, because we're going to lose a lot of morale, because once we take 1 wound by not having a shelter, we're going to have several characters crossing an arrow, making the morale plummet. So having the pot bring the morale up 1 is going to help a lot. Alright, here we go. We're ready to go into the second part of the action phase. Nothing is going on the threat action. We have our hunt actions, and I think I can resolve them in the order that I want. I don't know if I have to do one or the other first, so I'm going to go with the village first. I'll take the token back for the dog, and then this orange one was for the soldier. And our weapon level is only at 3, so the soldier is going to take 2 wounds because that village has a level of 5. Our soldier and the dog did a good job. Ouch. Took out that village, but he's going to take a couple of wounds. We did successfully burn that village down, so we'll take one of the black cubes and place it over the tiki symbol to show that that village has been burnt down, and we don't have to use that tiki symbol in order to determine strength for future villages that will appear. And we can move to that tile if we want to and collect resources from it without having to use extra pawns now. Now we're going to see what beast is in store for us here. And it is a boa. It has a strength of 2, but it's going to decrease our weapon level by 2. We're not going to take any wounds, but we're going to go down 2. We will get 2 food and no fur, but we will get one of the tokens though. So the boa did some damage to our weapon, but did not do any damage to us. We're going to lose 2 weapon levels, pushing us all the way back to 1, but that's okay because we don't have any villages we need to attack right now. The boa will give us 2 food for our future resources. We'll put our tokens for those characters back, and now we'll move over to our build action. We will go ahead and resolve the 2 that we know are going to be successful. So I'll take the tokens back for the carpenter. This brown one was temporary and it will go away, and that will give us the pot, which is going to help us a lot. We flip that over, and during the night phase with the pot we could convert a food if we had excess into healing, and then we'll spend the 1 wood. And the explorer was successful with the help of the carpenter in making our pit. Now, the pit is there. During the production phase, we'll now roll the brown wound die. And remember, it has 4 wound symbols and 2 blanks. And when we roll that, if we roll one of the wound symbols, we get 2 food. That means something got captured in our pit for us to eat. Now there is a chance that we will roll a blank, but at least it's 4 out of 6. We'll get more food, and we'll know that early in the production phase, which means we would know if we needed to assign pawns for gathering resources. So the pit's going to be really useful for us. Next, we will work on the rope. The explorer is working on it by herself, so she's going to have to roll the dice to see if she's successful or not. Alright, explorer, let's see how you do. We're counting on you to get this rope made. What an amazing roll. No wounds, no adventure card, and we're successful. Great luck there. The explorer really came through. We got our rope. Now the rope is available to use, which means we can work on the snare soon, which will give us an additional food. There's also a couple of other items up here that will require the rope. The shield, which if we use a wood we can get that, and that'll give us an attack pawn that we can use without having to use up 2 people each time, or the dog, and we can use the dog to explore instead. Plus, once we do have the knife, which we still have to find the mountains first, we can create the bow by using the rope, the knife, and 1 wood, which will bring our weapon level up 3 levels. All of those actions were very successful. We have the pot now, so we could use any or all of these tokens. I'm going to go ahead and use this one to increase the morale. And now we're finally on something other than 0. We're in the 1 determination token spot. We use this token, it'll get discarded. And then we have these 2. And there's no reason not to increase my weapon level, so we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to save this one for a little bit later in this round when I see who I need to increase health on, because we're going to all take a wound because of that shelter missing. So I want to try and mitigate the morale loss the best I can, but we'll go ahead and increase our weapon level 2 using the poison. The poison will get us back up to level 3. and the poison token will get discarded. We are not gathering any resources. We're not doing any exploring. And we'll go right into organizing the camp. And here's where I can use the Bible. During this phase, we'll use the Bible. That'll give us an extra determination token and heal a wound. The cook gets to decide, since this is a 4-player game, 2 tokens or increase morale. Well, I'm definitely going for the 2 tokens because with the Bible that'll give me 3 tokens and she will get to heal a wound. The cook gets the 3 tokens, and by healing a wound that moves her 1 away from that arrow now. And just like we planned, we're going to use the 3 tokens and her hooch ability, place a token on there, to negate 1 cloud. This cloud is gone. We don't have anyone that is resting. Next, we're going into the weather phase, which we took care of thanks to the cook whipping up a nice batch of hooch for everyone to drink and stay warm and dry somehow. Finally, before we move into the night phase, we have 3 characters that are 1 step away from losing a morale if they lose a health. I also forgot at the end of the action phase those 2 food would move down to the available resources. So we will use both of these tokens. We're going to use the healing ointment and we're going to eat some vegetables. This will heal 1 wound, and this I can heal 2 wounds on 1 person or 1 wound on 2 people. We'll use the healing ointment to heal 1 wound from the explorer. And then we will have, well, let me think about it. Because if I heal 1 wound each, someone's going to have to not eat. Then they would lose 2. Somehow the arrow is going to go down. Everyone's going to lose 1 because of the shelter not being there. So if I heal 1, then we'll have to lose 1 morale. There's no way to avoid losing morale, because if I move somebody 2, then yeah, okay. So I'll move 2 characters, have them heal 1 wound each from having a good meal of vegetables. Remember this guy? I forgot. I'm supposed to draw a token. I should have got that, and I never did. And it wouldn't have been available until after the action phase anyway, so that's okay. And we got the X. That is scenario specific. That is a map of the island. Look at the top 3 island tiles and put them back in any order. Well, that is useful. Our map of the island, we'll put it down here now. It would go in the future resources, but we're past the action phase and it would have moved down. So it is available for us to use. We already talked about the weather phase and we're ready to move in to our night phase now. First we have to eat. Unfortunately, we only have 3 food, which means somebody has to starve tonight. I think the explorer will be our one to lose 2 wounds or take 2 wounds for not eating. And because she did not eat and took those 2 wounds, it crossed over one of the arrows, reducing our morale by 1 back down to 0. Next we have to decide if we want to move our camp, and I think I will. I'll move our camp to the east. Now we don't have a wood resource that we're going to get each round right now, but I wanted to open up these 3 areas for exploration, or even this fourth one back here if we wanted to. But these, if we open these up, at least these two will move us one step closer to the cannibal city of the cannibals that's going to appear, and that we're going to have to eventually attack and destroy. When I moved my camp this time, I didn't have to do anything special because there's nothing there. No shelter, no roof, no palisades. If it was just a shelter, you can always move the shelter without losing it in most cases. If I had a roof or palisades built and it was a shelter, I would have to decrease the level of those by a half when I moved it. The exception to that being a natural shelter. Of course, if you move a natural shelter, you're just moving your camp. You can't move the natural shelter with you, and any roof or palisades that you have on a natural shelter are decreased to 0 when you move it. And once again, we have no shelter. Everyone's sleeping out in the open, and everyone is going to take a wound. And that's why I chose the explorer to take the 2 wounds, because I knew she was going to take another one, and she's still 4 away from another arrow, where everybody else would have been closer to a arrow that reduces morale. That is it for our night phase. Our first player marker will pass to the cook. The black markers that show that we used a particular skill of the characters, those come off of their cards. And we will move the token to track the round and begin round 3 next. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed round 2 of Cannibal Island. Hopefully I didn't make any more mistakes. If I did, hopefully they're small. Please take a moment to check out the other videos on the channel if you have not already. When you do check them out, if you like what you see, please consider giving the channel some support. Also, like, share, and subscribe, and please leave comments. I like hearing from everyone. Your support is appreciated, and I'll see you in the next video for round 3.